Hey guys, it's Alam, and today I'm going to be doing my first video in quite a while on the Bedrock Edition Farlands, as you can already tell. Now let me just drink this potion of swiftness real quick, because the floating point precision is so bad out here, I can barely move. Like, see, even the particles are glitched. Yes, see, finally moving. Alright, but before we get into the main topic of today's video, I highly recommend you go check out my creative mode videos on the Java edition, where, especially the one I did recently, in which I recreated the landscape of one of my first ever worlds on the Java edition. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get into the main topic of today's video, which is the curious anomalies that exist within the Bedrock Edition Farlands. We'll begin with the Skygrid that you're seeing over here in the corner. Now, okay, we just need to hold it down for a while to get moving. Again, floating point precision is pretty bad out here. See, in there you can see the Skygrid still generates. I've heard conflicting reports over whether it still exists. Right now I'm inside of a block there. But it's still here. Now, I believe the Skygrid is actually caused by the failure of interpolation in these areas. Like you can see, you can see how the blocks are every 4 blocks, and the x and z axes, and I think it's every 8 in the y, and that coincides exactly with the intervals over which the noise is interpolated normally. And you can actually see bits of the stack of Java Edition starting to generate here before the Skygrid begins, and these random 4-block strips as well. Now I suggest you go check out my video that I uploaded back in May 2017, where I previously discussed the corner farlands in the Bedrock Edition. Now there is another anomaly of the farlands in this version of the game that you may have already noticed. That I'm pretty sure I have an explanation for. And there's an ice spikes biome over there. Pretty interesting. There's actually an interesting spawn in this world. I'm going to show it at the end of the video. But you may notice that the edge farlands, when we get near corners, is actually very repetitive. Now, to give you a better view of this, I'm going to teleport to 12,550,800, 100, 6,275,412. Return. All right. So you're gonna load. Yeah, there. There's a lava spring over there. So you can see, before this point, the edge farlands. Well, it is repetitive, but it's not as repetitive, and this lava fall is already causing a whole forest fire. And you see, before it's not very repetitive, but after this point on the Z, 6,275,412 on the Z, the edge farlands becomes just as repetitive as it was in the corner. Now, before that point, what I like to call the low and high noise coordinate on the Z is less than 1,073,741,824. But after that point, it is greater than 1,073,741,824. And as such, I believe that the repetitiveness of the terrain in the edge farlands through the corners is caused by floating point precision loss in the terrain generation. All right, now let's head to 12,758,544, 100. 1. All right, so this is right about the end of the terrain generation. The chunks near me weren't rendering there for a second. Reminds me of the PC versions when you got a billion blocks out. Anyway, here you can see the end of terrain generation in the Bedrock Edition of the game. You can see just a bunch of floating blocks, everything. Now, I have a very interesting theory on why the terrain actually stops here. It has to do with the way Minecraft interpolates the noise used in generating terrain. And it has to do with the fact that when we get into the far lands, the integer part of the noise coordinate gets stuck at 2,147,483,647, and the fraction part then which is plugged into the equation and continues to, which is normally only between 0 and 1, will continue to accumulate, growing by 171.103 each block. Now, by this point, the accumulated fraction reaches about 35.5 million. I can't remember the exact number offhand, of course, but it's just enough that when plugged into the equation that Minecraft uses for interpolation of noise, which is 6x minus 15, all times x, all plus 10, all times x cubed, we get about 3.402752 times 10 to the 38. This is almost, you may notice that that number is almost exactly 2 to the power of 128. Which is the hard limit of the single precision floating point format, in much the same way that 2 to the 1024 is for the double precision. And now let's just fly around here. Make things a little more interesting. And we're in like an ocean biome. We're in a warm ocean biome, apparently. Anyway. So in the east, this causes the terrain to actually stop generating at beyond this point. Now I will be showing you the south area in this coordinate near the end of the video, where it goes into like a sky grid, like in the corner. But just 2 more blocks after this point, we'll get it over to the 128th. I theorize that it would take about 1.8 times 10 to the 59 blocks for this to happen on Java Edition. And even if we got 128-bit technology, that would still not be enough to go there. All right. So now, but before we check that out, we'll see what the repetitiveness of the terrain looks like when we bring the fringe lands into this. So let's do /teleport. 12,561,029, 120, 6,265,004, and 12. And the game does teleport me 1 block off, because of floating point precision, perhaps. Anyway, we're in a cold ocean biome, apparently, now. And here's the fringe lands looking very repetitive. Even more so, ooh, that sheep, RIP sheep, 2021 to 2021. Anyway, see here, the fringe land starts looking even more repetitive to the south at that point. Actually, that's just shadows. I thought there was like a swamp biome over there. We're in a snow biome. So when you bring the fringe lands into the repetitiveness of the terrain phenomenon, you get this result. But now I'm going to show you the edge of terrain generation in the south. So let's do /TP teleport 112,750,544. There. See if it loads up. There. We already see the sky grid from the corner. Of course, this isn't actually the end of terrain generation in the south, but you can sort of see, like, there's a line right there. And some pillars. And then it just goes into the sky grid. All right. So that. Now, I haven't been able to figure out why the corners would stop at an earlier coordinate, 12,562,277. But I did figure out some pretty interesting theories about the far lands in Minecraft Bedrock Edition and their curious anomalies, which I've shared to you in this video. One last thing, let's teleport right back to spawn. This TP 101. Now in this seed, I actually spawned right next to an abandoned village. I will do a seed showcase on this later. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And goodbye.